Okay, gonna try and keep this one short and sweet, relatively speaking. So, I saw Beetlejuice on opening night, and I gotta say, I really enjoyed it. It was firing on all cylinders, at least to my tastes. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that it was a 100-mile-per-hour cinematic masterpiece or a thrill ride, but it does mean that it was a really fun time. And maybe I'm a bit biased because of my childhood having a strong association to Tim Burton movies and their general aesthetic of misshapen gothic palpability, but this movie really scratched that itch for me. From the first shots where we're tracking across the model town with Danny Elfman's bombastic score blaring over the opening credits, I think I was hooked. And the movie never really gave me a good reason to get off the hook, so to speak. The cast was great and far more star-studded than I remembered. Granted, I don't remember much since I think I saw the original movie when I was like 6 years old, but I don't think that hindered my enjoyment much at all. Really, I like to think the fog of my childhood memories associated with the original Beetlejuice is a perfect blend of ignorance and recognition. The iconography of the film, like the zany hallways or the model town or Keaton's character itself, or Bob or the sandworms, are all hugely recognizable and memorable to me, and they really pop in my memories. But the actual story beats and themes of the original Beetlejuice, not so much. But even being in this odd limbo, I didn't feel like I missed a beat in the new movie. It was simple and straightforward and did really good work at keeping its momentum once it started. And when I say simple, I don't mean this in a bad way. Really, I think the movie achieved a lot. I mean, it had like 4 or 5 different subplots running at any given point in time, and the comedy was good too. There wasn't necessarily much that made me fully laugh out loud, per se, but the jokes per minute felt really high and pretty solid, and I think the digs at modern trends were good too, especially considering how old Burton is and how out of touch certain directors and writers can feel like they're being with that sort of material. The movie did like call them out to a pretty good degree, but not in a way that felt like they were shouting down from some entitlement tower constructed of ivory. There was nothing that really felt like it outright interrupted the movie to soapbox or ruin the experience that I was already having while watching it. And speaking of the experience watching it, I want to praise that. I don't know how many times I've mentioned this specifically, but the movie-going experience is something I really enjoy on an emotional level. Honestly, when I see films, I want to like them every single time. I want that feeling of wonder and amazement and immersion into the story and the world that I'm experiencing. And Beetlejuice Squared gives me that in a very fundamental way. It's fully earnest in its wacky and gothic world and really leads into its dry and undersold humor, which I quite enjoyed. The set design and hair and makeup and costuming all also coalesce to create this atmosphere that's so unique but also so foundationally Tim Burton. And Jenna Ortega is a great new addition to the cast, but frankly, who would be surprised at that by this point? After Scream and Wednesday, she seems to pick great projects and is genuinely coming up as a sort of new era Scream queen. Really, at this point, I think she should be put up there with Glenn Powell and Timothée Chalamet and Zendaya as young actors and actresses whose presence in a project is almost a stamp or a guarantee that you'll at the very least have a good time with the film. Outside of Ortega, the returning cast is stellar too, but that's to be expected. Keaton is clearly having a blast playing Beetlejuice, and that sleazy comedic joy of his is just infectious. O'Hara is also chewing a fabulous amount of scenery and makes even her subplot such a good time. Winona Ryder plays her role really well as the keystone character of the film, which grounds us but also guides us through the ghostly world. And even Thoreau is great and frankly pretty hilarious in my opinion. He's a lot of fun as Rory. Willem Dafoe's character is also just a joy in every single scene he's in. He stole the show for me, to be honest, and I would absolutely tune in to a Wolf Jackson spin-off film, terrible as I know that it would be. And in contrast to the film that I most recently reviewed, what I felt was most different about Beetlejuice and Borderlands was that it felt like everyone on screen in Beetlejuice was putting their all into it. It felt like they were trying to deliver to me an experience rather than earn a paycheck with the minimum effort necessary. And though it's not a tangible thing that you can directly point to and identify, this energy does so much work in enhancing the atmosphere of a movie. This energy is infectious, like I said, and it pushes the needle ever so slightly in my experience. It could be the thing that shifts your watching of a movie from having an okay time to the movie bringing you genuine joy. Like they say in sports analysis, when they just want to make shit up to justify their own opinions, it comes down to the intangibles. Beyond the cast, I felt the story was really tight. It had a brisk pace and spun a lot of different plates, and never really gave you time to lose interest or get bored of any one individual storyline. It's not the most complicated narrative in the world, nor does it have super deep ideas or messages, but it has something to say at the very least, and make sure you stay engaged while it's saying it. Live life isn't really the most profound message, but it's a message that's earnest, and I do award points for that. Astrid and Lydia and Delia all get their own plot lines and arcs, and like I said, even Wolf Jackson has a bit of a storyline, which, as I mentioned, is so much fun. Beetlejuice's own plot about running from his ex keeps things moving as well, and gives all of his antics a little ticking clock that we all know he won't be able to entirely outrun, which makes things a little bit more fun. It's a brisk and light and just refreshing movie. It's a nice opener to get primed and ready for the autumnal season, and more importantly, Halloween. So overall, I recommend Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. It was a fun time with some great visual gags, some good comedy, and a lot of amazing set work. I found myself appreciating everything from the subtle undersold line deliveries to the hair and makeup to the musical score, and specifically was often wondering where the prop department ended and where the costuming began. Burton has this sort of cheesy gothic energy to a lot of his work, and it does a great job in elevating Beetlejuice Beetlejuice in a way that really just makes you fall in love with the camp. Really, this is just a good time through and through. If you're on the fence, give this one a shot. You can blame me if you don't like it, but I very much doubt that will be the case. So overall, I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars for me. And I give the go-ahead to catch it in theaters. If you saw it and you agree with me, I'd love to know what you enjoyed most about the movie. If you saw it and disagree with me, I'm always interested to hear why this one didn't quite do it for you. Let me know in the comments down below. Oh, and also, I recently got to the 500 subscriber mark. This is not a big number by any stretch of the imagination, but it does feel like some sort of milestone for me and for this channel. So to commemorate, I'd like to do a special based on the feedback of my 500 strong audience. I set up a community poll, so go check that out and vote. Or, just comment whatever you want here. I'll be sure to consider it either way. So thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing, and until next time.